This Day in Sports History. And welcome into another edition of This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network, where you can find more podcasts, more info, and we also have a new giveaway going on. Darren Hayes, a member of the Sports History Network family as the host of Pigskin Dispatch, just released a new book. It's called Marooned: The Rise, the Fall, and the Redemption of the NFL's Pottsville Maroons, and it details the controversy around the team and the 1925 NFL season. Was that season's NFL championship stolen from Pottsville? Enter for your chance to win an autographed copy of the book. Just go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways. It's May 21st, and on this day in 1989, it was the tide slide at the Winston All-Star race. But unlike Dale Earnhardt's misnamed Pass in the Grass, this one did not have a happy ending for our protagonist. So the NASCAR boys were racing in the Winston, which was the All-Star race featuring the previous year's race winners, as well as special exemptions. Charlotte Motor Speedway was once again the venue, just as I talked about a few days ago with Dale Earnhardt's Pass in the Grass in '87. This was a 3-stage race that finished with a high-octane 10-lap run for the checkered flag and the big fat check. Darrell Waltrip in his Tide Chevrolet led the field in the 10-lap sprint, and he held the lead for the first 8 laps. With 2 to go and driving in turns 3 and 4, Waltrip came down the track just a bit and pinched Rusty Wallace.
In the fourth corner now, Wallace comes down low again. He flips the tire. Waltrip loses it as they touch. Waltrip spins it backwards across the grass as they come to the white flag. The yellow flag comes out. The yellow flag comes out. And that means that the lap is not going to count. But can Waltrip get it going?
He's still got his engine running, Paul. He's still trying to get around. Of course, he's going to be way behind.
Special rule, though. Special rule. Unless it's on the last lap, which it was not. These laps don't count. It'll still be a run.
So that came to be known as the Tide Slide. Since Waltrip was in the number 17 Tide Chevy, Wallace took the lead on the restart final lap, took the checkered flag and the $200,000 check. Waltrip obviously was not happy after the race, and with this being an all-star event, there were special rules in place, and Waltrip believed that he should have been put back up front for the restart.
I mean, you can't go back to the last green lap and not put it back like it was. They put everybody else back like it was, and I didn't spin out. I got knocked out, so I should have been allowed to go back to the front. If they're going to do it right, I mean, to me, that's what they just took $200,000 away from me and told that boy that what he did was A-OK, do it again, buddy, if you got to.
You know, I would have rather finished the race, me winning it, and nothing like that happening. But, you know, it happened this way in '87, and I don't think those guys were doing that on purpose either, and I didn't have nothing to do with doing that on purpose. It was a tough race. I'm sorry for Darrell. Glad we won.
The pit crews also were not happy with one another. As Wallace was headed to victory lane, Todd Parrott, one of his crew running behind the car, threw a shoulder into a Tide team member, and at that point, it was on. Barry Dotson was Rusty's crew chief, and he remembers seeing the chaos.
I was actually doing an interview from the wind, and everybody was flying by me, and I thought, you know, why is everybody in such a rush to get out of here, not knowing my crew was behind me, in a hell of a brawl with the Tide team.
The teams came together, punches were thrown, fingers were bitten, words were said. It took a few minutes and several police officers to clear the scene.
It's hilarious now to look back on it, but it was very competitive back then.
If you mess with one of us, you got to mess with all of us. That's just the way we were brought up.
Yeah.
Now, here is a little bit of a funny result of what happened in the aftermath of that wreck and melee. Darrell Waltrip had been the bad guy up to this point. He wore the black hat. He was Jaws, the guy who wouldn't shut up. Rusty Wallace had been the good guy, didn't do anything wrong, clean driver. Well, those roles flipped quickly, and from that point for several years, Rusty Wallace was the bad guy, and Darrell Waltrip was the cagey veteran that people started pulling for again. Of course, that led to DW heading to the broadcast booth later on, and from there it was boogity, 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 boys, let's go racing into history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1986, a wild shot by Ralph Sampson sank the Los Angeles Lakers, propelling the Houston Rockets into the NBA Finals. This was Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals in the Fabulous Forum. Houston led the series 3-1, with the Rockets riding Hakeem Olajuwon's 35-point performance in Game 3 and 40-point night in Game 4. The Showtime Lakers had something to prove, though. These were the defending world champs and, in fact, had represented the Western Conference 4 straight years in the finals. Pat Riley was at the helm, Kareem, Magic, James Worthy all leading the break. They were not supposed to lose. They were the top seed. The Lakers got out to a 12-point lead after the first quarter. From there, the Rockets spent the rest of the game digging themselves out of that hole. The Rockets had the twin towers of Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson, 7-foot giants, equal in stature to Kareem, at least in the height department. This was also a really physical game. Houston's Lewis Lloyd and the Lakers' Michael Cooper got tangled up a few times and were jawing at each other in the second half. After Sampson slammed one, a hard foul by Maurice Lucas nearly resulted in a fight with Sampson having to be restrained by Olajuwon. And then with 5:16 to play in a tight game, Olajuwon and Mitch Kupchak got a little physical.
McRae, the level. Magic is watching him, and Kupchak and Hakeem go at it. And Lucas wrestles him down, and both benches empty.
Both Olajuwon and Kupchak were ejected from the game, which, if you are a Lakers fan, is a trade you would make every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But still, the Rockets hung in. With the game tied at 1:12 and 1 second showing on the clock, Houston had the ball out of the timeout.
McRae will inbound, 1 second on the clock. Sampson. It goes! It goes! It's over! A miraculous shot by Ralph Sampson. Off balance has given the Houston Rockets the Western Conference Championship and a trip to Boston for the NBA World Title. And an improbable finish.
Now, the clock back then did not display tenths of a second. So, was it a full second, a half second, a few tenths? Nobody knew. Sampson didn't feel like he had time to catch and shoot, so instead he caught it in the air with his back to the basket and flicked it towards the rim with his right hand. It hit the front of the rim and dropped through for the game winner, sending Houston on to the NBA Finals to face the Boston Celtics. It was perhaps the ugliest shot to ever win a game in the history of the league, but there are no style points in basketball. After the game, CBS's Pat O'Brien asked Sampson how it felt to hit the game winner.
I think it's probably the best experience I ever had in my basketball career.
What about that last shot? Was that a planned shot, Ralph?
Well, it was only 1 second left, and I had to, do something with a planned play to come inside, and I had to get it up, and I got it up and it went in.
The Rockets' magic ended in this game, though. They would eventually be swept by the Celtics in a very physical NBA Finals in 4 games. On this day in 1952, it was the Brooklyn Dodgers swinging the bats in a big way in the first inning in their game with the Cincinnati Reds. After Bobby Adams threw Bill Cox out to record the first out of the game, the proverbial floodgates opened up, and they would not close for a while. The next 19 batters reached base safely for the Dodgers. That was 10 hits, 7 walks, 2 hit by a pitch. The Dodgers plated 15 runs in the first inning to set a major league record for runs scored in the opening frame. 12 of those runs were scored with 2 outs, also a record. The bottom half of the first took 59 minutes to play, and Brooklyn held on to win 19-1. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. The man considered to be the world's best tournament Scrabble player a New Zealander named Nigel Richards, won a tournament in France back in 2015, despite not being able to speak any French. He simply memorized the entire French dictionary. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.
The heel gets the heat. The babyface gets the cheers. But the jobber gets, well, the job done. And speaking of jobbers, Barry Horowitz wasn't there to win titles. He was there to build them. By selling every move, every storyline, and every new star that stepped into the ring. He was the secret sauce. And now, he's the headline in his new book titled Wrestling is My Gimmick. My Life on the Wrong Side of the 3 Count. This memoir is a deep dive into wrestling's most underrated position and the man who made it an art form. Whether you're a fan of wrestling, a fan of sports history, or just love a great story, this book is for you. Again, that's Wrestling is My Gimmick by Barry Horowitz. Grab your copy today before the count strikes 3.